Wouldn't it be great if you could ask your data anything at any time? Like, how are sales this quarter? How's the new marketing campaign performing? What does the overall health of the company look like? And actually get answers right away with charts and graphics and actionable information. You can with Domo's AI and data products platform. Domo lets you channel AI and data quickly, securely, and innovatively to deliver measurable insights wherever and whenever you need them. Anyone on your team can use Domo to easily prepare, analyze, visualize, automate, and distribute data, all amplified by AI. Domo goes beyond productivity. It's designed to transform your processes, helping you make smarter and faster decisions and drive real growth. All powered by Domo's trust, flexibility, and years of expertise in data and AI innovation. The world's best companies rely on Domo to make smarter decisions. See how Domo can help transform yours. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.
The Agile Brand.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Agile Brand, where we discuss marketing technology and customer experience trends, insights, and ideas with enterprise and technology platform leaders. We focus on the people, processes, data, and platforms that make brands successful, scalable, customer-focused, and sustainable. This is what makes an Agile brand. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advising Fortune 1000 brands on MarTech, marketing operations, and CX, best-selling author and speaker. The Agile Brand podcast is brought to you by TechSystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that my latest book, Priority is Action: 7 Principles for Better Strategies, Decisions, and Outcomes, is now available. In it, I give ideas and insights for leaders and teams that need to make meaningful progress on their priorities. After all, our priorities are what we do, not what we say we'd like to do. You can find Priority is Action on Amazon or learn more on my website, gregkihlstrom.com. Now let's get on to the show. In today's competitive healthcare landscape, expanding into new markets and maintaining a focus on customer centricity are critical for sustained growth. Joining us to discuss these challenges and opportunities is Alice Eweida, CEO of Pandia Medical Group and Pandia Pharmacy. Alice brings extensive experience in navigating both direct-to-consumer and business-to-business models in the healthcare sector. Alice, welcome to the show.
Hey, Greg. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this with you. Why don't we get started with you sharing a little bit about your journey to becoming CEO of Pandia Medical Group and Pharmacy?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me first share a story. When I was spending some of my career at Google, I had a manager who was a female manager, and she used to, share quite openly that she was most concerned that she may never fulfill her true potential. And I remember when I heard her say that, I was like, well, first of all, I'd never heard anyone say that before. And second of all, I was like, is that a little bit narcissistic? Like, I just couldn't quite get it at the time. And maybe I was too young. But certainly after recently becoming a mom and having my son, there was just this moment where I was like, yeah, what if I never achieve my full potential? And I think every one of us has a little bit of that in us somewhere. And maybe it takes the right moment in life to tap into it. And so the opportunity to become CEO of Pandia Medical Group and Pandia Pharmacy came up at that moment in my life. And I just took a deep breath and said, yeah, let's lean in. Let's do this. And my journey, to getting there was really about mastering growth marketing. And I'd spent the majority of my career in some form of marketing, the most recent 10 years specifically in growth marketing, 8 years of that in startups here in Silicon Valley. And that was really critical to this opportunity because we started as direct to consumer, and you need somebody who knows how to really, set a plan alight and make sure those sales are coming in, and that the marketing team is really well set up and established to be able to deliver continuingly aggressive goals with increased investment over time.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna get into some of that in a second here. But first, for those that aren't familiar, can you talk a little bit about, what does Pandia Medical Group and Pandia Pharmacy do?
Yeah, we're the number one rated hormonal care clinic. We provide asynchronous telemedicine services for birth control through to menopause, and we treat symptoms in between, such as acne and some sexual wellness with STI testing and treatments soon to come. We believe that women deserve the highest quality care possible. And a lot of online businesses are really delivering telehealth 1.0. Their delivery models are through a team of low cost clinicians, and often it means hustling cheap pills, which are synonymous with side effects. So we really believe in improving the standard of care. And that's why our team is made up only entirely of doctors who are specialists in hormonal health. And we manage the last mile by owning our own pharmacy, which means that if a patient messages us at 1 a.m. saying, hey, I'm about to run out of birth control pills, we can get back to them within an hour or two because our team of patient care advisors are based globally, and we can prescribe the same day here in the US. So, timing is everything when it comes to hormonal health sometimes, particularly in this current socio-political climate where it's never been more important to not get pregnant if that's your goal.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Well, yeah, let's dive in here then. And we're going to start by talking about exploring new markets. And as you mentioned in your intro, I always think it's interesting when CEOs come from that marketing background. I think that's certainly a trend I'm seeing as well in the in several industries. But so definitely looking forward to talking about this. So exploring D2C, B2B, B2B2C. We'll talk a little bit about all of this. So, let's start with the direct to consumer or DTC market. So, could you explain a little bit about how Pandia Medical Group and Pharmacy approach the DTC market, and what unique challenges and opportunities does this model present?
Yeah. So, first of all, in terms of opportunities, I think it allows you to do your best work. It really requires a very well rounded brand and a complete marketing strategy across organic and paid techniques. I think it's everything from, smart use of data with audience lists and remarketing, also storytelling. So, making sure it's full funnel. Approach to content, and you've got things covering the top, the middle, and the lower part of the funnel. Sometimes it's about discounting as well. And it's really how you put all of that together that really makes an impact. So, for example, for us, 40% of new patients come from organic channels, which are for us SEO, email, lifecycle, and patient to patient referrals, which are really strong. And then the other 60% of that balance is paid advertising. And one thing we've really learned on the journey is that when it comes to content, your content really needs to have a point of view to help your brand differentiate. And we're really lucky that our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sophia Yen, is a passionate advocate and influencer for reproductive rights. So having her as part of the team means that she has a really clear perspective for things like the O pill, which is the first birth control pill over the counter, and how that can work in complement with telehealth services like ours. And so it just means you've got this endless opportunity to create really standout content, from webinars, downloadable guides, everything that you can do to create as much first party data as you can, and then measuring how that data transitions into patients over time.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned challenges. I
Yeah.
wanted to just
Yeah.
make sure I covered that one because it's not all rosy.
Right.
Direct to consumer requires a lot of dollars. I mean, really, you need a heavy investment and a big marketing budget. And of course, if you don't have, and that's to win, to be the number one or two in your industry. But if you don't have that, there's an awful long way you can go with great content and organic with a little bit of paid thrown in.
Yeah, yeah, and so as you said, direct to consumer, not easy on its own. Certainly, there's lots of opportunities, but lots of strategy and work that needs to be done. But that's not the only approach that you're taking. So you're also B2B and B2B2C as well. So how do these differ from your direct to consumer? I mean, there's some obvious things here, but also just how do you approach them in a different way than direct to consumer, and what adjustments do you need to make to succeed in those areas plus D2C?
Yeah, it definitely gets complicated when you throw those in.
Right.
And in the healthcare industry, it's very necessary. So, I was really lucky to lead growth at 3 different startups in the Series B space of funding before this opportunity. And so I've seen all of these models a number of times over. And for B2B, I think the main difference is really that you need a strategy at every stage in the sales process. And so similar to the direct consumer space where we think about, from top of funnel all the way through to the lower funnel techniques, we need to apply the same rigor to every stage in the sales process. And one thing that really has helped my teams in the past stand out and grow is truly understanding the competitive landscape for B2B. So we spent time working up battle cards, which really go head to head with each of your competitors and calling out the things that you are strongest in that make you a differentiator versus them. So having a really narrow lens, and that gives both your content engine something great to work with and your sales team the ability to close those deals. The other things that I've seen be really valuable in B2B is an events program. I think it's really important to be out there meeting your customer. Sometimes that can, again, require medium investment. So we've run programs in the past that required $1 million a year to show up at conferences and make sure you've thought through all of the different touch points from, what collateral they can pick up when they have an engagement with one of your team, how you capture their data digitally, and then continue having the conversation online from that point forwards. And then it's always helpful to have that human touch point. So I really believe in a sales development program where you can have some great marketing campaigns, but it's important to try and get that person on the phone or get hold of them by email or LinkedIn message or SMS to keep that conversation alive and make sure that a human is really understanding their challenges and the things that they're looking for and helping them solve them.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to B2B2C, I would say here, having a really deep partnership with whomever is paying for your services is critical. So, we've seen success with having a sponsor and a champion within the business. So, for example, if we're talking about an employer, which in healthcare it's fairly typical that you would sell your services as a benefit and be enrolling the employees of that business, then you need somebody who can help you break open access to indirect channels that you don't have direct control over. So that could be their intranet and canteens, TV screens in reception, as well as digital campaigns such as email and SMS.
Yeah, and to dive into that B2B2C a little bit more, particularly interested with that. It seems complex, versus just the amount of letters and numbers in it alone. But we had a show a little bit ago talking about this more in the retail space. So, different industry, but still talking about some of the challenges. Anything particularly challenging about B2B2C, and are there things that you kind of need to have in place to do that well?
Yeah, I do think it's one of the hardest marketing challenges I have ever faced in my career. And that's because it's this really special set of circumstances that requires some traditional approaches, but also, clever use of data and the most innovative tech stack and, all of the best things that we like to do in growth marketing. And so for me, it always comes back to understanding your audience. And I can give you an example here. When I worked for a startup that was offering a benefit for metabolic health services, and this was really dietitian counseling via telehealth. We had engaged a customer who was in logistics, and they had about 25,000 employees across the country, of which 50% were truckers. And you typically find that instances of diabetes, for example, can be really high in blue collar communities. And so this was a great opportunity for us. It really was one of the best opportunities in our sales pipeline. And when it became a real customer, it was really exciting for the marketing team, but it required us to think completely differently about how we would normally approach this challenge. So we learned through a lot of trial and error that you certainly can't send a direct mail during open enrollment season to somebody's home because truckers are very rarely at home. They're busy night and day traveling across the country, often with one piece of tech that they rely heavily on, maybe two. So it might be a phone and an iPad, or a phone and some kind of tablet. And we found that it was really all about mobile optimized email. It definitely, desktop was not relevant here in most cases. And then SMS. And the tricky thing about SMS is you need the right legal approvals to make sure that you're using it in the right way. And so what mattered here is how the data had been captured by the employer in order for us to use it for this purpose. And we had a very small set of data where it had been acquired with the right permissions, and it allowed us to do some really effective campaigns. But we certainly needed to push beyond that in order to achieve our enrollment goals. And then what we learned from that, and what I've continued to apply in my career, is to make sure there's a step in the sales process for securing access to the right data. And what I mean by that is not when the deal is done, when you're in the agreement phase and you're drafting an agreement with your customer, to make sure that there is a step that says, hey, we need to pull in someone from the marketing team and ask them what they need to be successful to enroll this population, and make sure that that is firmly part of the agreement, and that the customer understands why we're asking for that and how we're going to use it. And those are two really critical elements.
Wouldn't it be great if you could ask your data anything at any time? Like, how are sales this quarter? How's the new marketing campaign performing? What does the overall health of the company look like? And actually get answers right away with charts and graphics and actionable information. You can with Domo's AI and data products platform. Domo lets you channel AI and data quickly, securely, and innovatively to deliver measurable insights wherever and whenever you need them. Anyone on your team can use Domo to easily prepare, analyze, visualize, automate, and distribute data, all amplified by AI. Domo goes beyond productivity. It's designed to transform your processes, helping you make smarter and faster decisions and drive real growth, all powered by Domo's trust, flexibility, and years of expertise in data and AI innovation. The world's best companies rely on Domo to make smarter decisions. See how Domo can help transform yours. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.
Switching gears a little bit here, want to talk about another topic, staying customer centric and with your experience in growth marketing. And as we all know, maintaining a focus on the customer is critical, especially when you're expanding, whether that's, as a startup, even as an existing company. So I want to talk a little bit about that part of things, and things like customer profitability, improving customer lifetime value, or CLV. So growth marketing is a term, it's certainly used a lot lately. When it's maybe one of those buzzwords that doesn't make it not powerful, but it's certainly being used a lot. But it's also something that a lot of companies are utilizing. So can you talk about, and I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but talk a little bit more about how does Pandia Pharmacy and Medical Group look at growth marketing? What's the approach there?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, what it's meant to me, what it has become to mean over many years, is obsess about the data. Just always listen to what the data is telling you. Make sure you're measuring the right things. Make sure you're looking at it often enough. It's so easy to get busy in meetings and not understand the roles and responsibilities of each member of the team. Who is responsible for looking at which data, and to try to set up the right behaviors so that they're looking at it as frequently as possible. So really, traditionally, it's been thought of as growth rates. So instead of just looking at like, hey, we got 1,000 new customers last month, you're looking at the enrollment rate and how much did it grow by, or your conversion rate on site, and how much did that rate grow or decline by. And so, data is definitely the obvious answer. But what I've also found to be helpful is looking at top line metrics as well as growth rates, and so that you are really seeing the full picture. So, we obsess over traffic and leads in terms of just pure volume, as well as growth rates such as conversion rates and enrollment rates. And then I think it's always really important when we're talking about data to just leverage the best digital tools that you can make available, and make sure you're continually researching and understanding the tools on offer in the market, because you've only got one budget, you have to invest it wisely. And so making sure, for example, if you're using GA4, that you're building the right conversion funnels and that you have the right skill set on the team to be able to do that. And looking at things like heat maps, surveying tools. Hotjar is a favorite of mine. But yeah, just making sure you always have the best tools available.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely agree. I think looking at growth rates and focusing on those, it definitely changes the conversation. Rather than, I think it's easy to get distracted by good looking numbers, okay, we're above average or whatever, whatever you're comparing yourself to, but the growth or performance rates or whatever you want to, refer to them. It's hard to argue that, things are continuing to perform well when the growth rate is not continuously improving. So I think that's a powerful way of looking at things.
Yeah, that's so right, Greg. And just one final thought on that is, it's also, I love what you say about those attractive numbers. And where I've found it to be helpful as well is when things go sour, you can suddenly have a dip and you've got to hustle and figure out quickly where that dip's coming from. And finding where your growth rates have been depressed is where you find the answers.
Yeah, great point. Yeah. And so, amidst all of that, I mean, definitely, growth is critical and doing that. How do you balance that need for growth with staying focused on the customer? So, you gotta have the numbers, or else even customers don't benefit if the company's not performing well. But, how do you maintain customer centricity amidst that focus on growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really love that. In my view, I would say it's about listening a lot. And I think there are some really low cost ways that you can do that. Just always be surveying, always be trying to understand your customer better. And it's a bit like peeling back layers of the onion and adding flavors into your customer profiling. So, for example, right now we have a renewal survey running to help us understand why customers, love us so much that they want to sign up for another year, but also understanding if they're not signing up again, why that is and where the gaps are. Plus, just keeping a real close eye on the competitive landscape. I think that helps a lot. And it's easy to do. You've got so many touch points from socials, making sure, for example, that you're constantly checking your competitors' socials and seeing what are they launching, what are they talking about. Using advisors wherever possible or mentors who might have some knowledge of your competitors. Often, people tend to center their careers in one industry and one particular topic. And so it might be that when they're later in their career and they're becoming advisors on the board, or they want to mentor younger people in the team, then they have some really deep knowledge across the industry. And then for where the leadership team of your competitors show up. So events, webinars, every opportunity you get to hear them speak, I think is valuable to help you understand the market better.
Yeah, that's interesting. So could you share maybe some ideas or strategies, approaches that have helped improve that customer value and profitability while maintaining your customer centricity at Pandia?
Yeah, that's a really crucial question because, as you say, those numbers only get bigger,
Right.
those vanity ones,
Right.
and you need to figure out your strategy for how you're going to keep growing year after year. And so for us, it's been about cross-selling products and understanding the needs of our customers. And so, for example, we started out in birth control and very quickly realized that the most common side effect of having an imbalance in hormones is acne. And as well, we had quite a young customer base. And so it's more typical in your earlier years, in your 20s and 30s. So we figured out how to stand up a really seamless way of prescribing medications for acne that was very complementary. And so we did that by cross-selling in a few different areas. So first of all, in the product experience, finding the right touch points. When somebody's most receptive and already in the consideration mindset for your brand. And then also newsletters, having, the right modules having dynamic email modules that can just plug into different campaigns. I've seen that be really, really successful. So having like a machine learning program that sits in the background and says like, hey, if a campaign is going out to this demographic of customers, then here's the top 3 products that we could cross-sell to them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Alice, as we wrap up here, want to talk a little bit about your vision for the future here, and what emerging trends or technologies do you think will be playing a role in shaping not only Pandia Medical Group and Pandia Pharmacy, but also your industry in the coming years?
Yeah, awesome. So for us, I think consumer trends are providing asynchronous telemedicine for specialty care. We've seen a lot of telemedicine for, primary care, coughs, colds, and flu, but we're really starting to understand the value of this modality for things like psychiatry, menopause, which is one of the services that we offer. And asynchronous just means you're not on a phone call or a video chat with a doctor, but you're just filling out a questionnaire, providing some data, and the doctor is reviewing that information and writing a prescription for you. So this asynchronous mode can be really effective where it's difficult to have conversations in person. And that might be things like sexual health. It might be things around depression. I think there's tons of areas that we've really yet to explore the value of it for. And then as well as consumer trends, there's technology, obviously AI. And I think what I mean by that is just software, smart software that continues to learn. It's everywhere. It's in everything. It's all around us. And so we're thinking about that for obvious things like shipping and refills in particular. But as well, how can we do the more complex tasks like our team of patient care advisors who triage messages between the customer and the doctor, helping them respond in a way that takes some of the workload off them and also makes the business more efficient, as well as prescribing recommendations for doctors. We have so much data on our patients that there's a really great way that we can be more efficient and get an outcome for the patient faster. And then full stack marketing, given our focus today, I really think there's many more opportunities for programmatic and personalized creative. I think we're just scratching the surface there. Even Google Ads is a little bit clunky, in my opinion, in how it puts together imagery and headlines today. And it's a very black box for helping advertisers really understand what's working and what isn't. So I think we're at the very, very beginning of that journey. This has been so fun, Greg. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining. Again, I'd like to thank Alice Eweida for joining us today, and you can learn more about Alice and Pandia Medical Group and Pandia Pharmacy by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to The Agile Brand, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.gregkihlstrom.com. That's GregKihlstrom.com. While you're there, check out my series of best-selling Agile Brand guides, covering a wide variety of marketing technology topics, or you can search for Greg Kihlstrom on Amazon. The Agile Brand is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Until next time, stay agile.
The Agile Brand.